Naval, this news just broke on the Trump sentencing in the New York case in which he was found guilty of misrepresenting his business records. He was supposed to be sentenced, and many believed it would be to jail on the 18th of this month. And now Judge Merchan, who, make no mistake about it, is 100% a political actor, has said, we're not going to do it. On September 18th, we are going to postpone it until after the election. The date will be November 26th. And amazingly, this guy has the call to think we're going to believe he's done this so as not to influence the election. He goes on, I won't read you the whole thing, but basically says, unfortunately, we're now at a place in time that's fraught with complexities, rendering the requirements of a sentencing hearing, should one be necessary, difficult to execute. The imposition of sentence will be adjourned to avoid any appearance, however unwarranted, that this proceeding has been affected by or seeks to affect the approaching presidential election in which the defendant is a candidate. The court is a fair, impartial, and apolitical institution. Oh my God, I can't go on. Let me just point something out to you. Those are all lies. He's very political. We know that. The prosecution is very political. But let me tell you something. This judge had no choice. 2 days before the sentencing hearing, he's scheduled to make a decision on whether Trump has immunity and whether the evidence that was introduced against Trump violates the Supreme Court's ruling that you're not allowed to introduce official acts as evidence against a former president. That's been barred thanks to the Supreme Court ruling. So as soon as he ruled on that, Trump was going to take it up. It was going to go right up on appeal, and it was going to stay the whole thing anyway. So he's a dishonest broker to the end. The left is freaking out about, what does he mean? If it's necessary, we'll hold it. What he means is he allowed in evidence he shouldn't have allowed in. The Supreme Court is going to so find. And this trial the verdict is probably going to get thrown out long before November 26th if the Supreme Court takes it on an expedited basis. The dishonesty by our elected officials, Naval, is front and center every day.
You know, honestly, it was the lawfare that kind of brought me off the sidelines. It's really disgusting behavior because this is how you descend into a complete banana republic with military coups and military rule. The moment you can start weaponizing the law against your enemies selectively, that's the beginning of the end. There was a famous dictator who said something like, you know, for my friends, anything, for my enemies, the law. Right. And what he meant by that is once you're in charge and you get to dictate who the law applies to, you're in a very slippery slope. And slippery slopes are real, by the way, as we know. As a clear example, if you were to actually look at the charges that were brought against Trump, and I actually read them quite carefully. I mean, these were really trumped up. They were really made up. You violated the statute of limitations. You tried to drum things up into a felony when there was no evidence of such. It was a miscategorization of business expenses. When you have complex business dealings like I do and like many people do, you can always find something. So it's this selective prosecution. It's a selective persecution that allows them to get away with this. And, you know, a lot of the progressive DA movement that comes out of George Soros and others is based on this understanding that, hey, actually, we can choose whether or not to prosecute certain people. And these are elected offices that are, that either are in territory where the voters are really favorable to us, or they're really cheap to run because there's no organized opposition. So let's just organize and take over prosecution. That's what happened in San Francisco. If you want the case against Kamala Harris, it's the fact that she was DA at San Francisco, and San Francisco is a mess. And in fact, afterwards, she advocated for George Gascon, who's the guy who's destroying LA, through basically not prosecuting criminals and going after business owners. So this selective prosecution thing is a disaster. You can take a deep blue or deep red state. You can take a deep blue or deep red jury. You can basically creatively interpret these infinite laws that we have to find anybody guilty of a crime. Like I think there's that other famous saying, like, you know, you find me the man and I'll find you the crime, or give me 6 sentences written by any honest man and I will find the crime. So you can always find a crime that somebody is guilty of violating. So the moment you start breaking down this wall and you get into weaponizing justice, Hillary Clinton blew up her email server wiped it with bleach bit. There was no consequences from that. Turns out the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Who knew, right? Even though we were told it was all misinformation by the intelligence agencies. This is the scary stuff. This is the stuff that ends a republic or turns into a one-party state, better known as a dictatorship. China is a one-party state. North Korea is a one-party state. So I don't use the words one-party state lightly. But I think the weaponization of the justice system, the engagement, willingness to go into lawfare, that is the thing that will lead to violence. That is the thing that will lead to a dissolution and a breakup and something worse in the United States. So I think when these guys start playing with going after their political enemies, when Alvin Bragg runs on the explicit campaign to take down Trump, and then they go hunting through and looking for anything and drumming up any charge and go after him in the most favorable juries in the most favorable part of the country, and then just control the evidence and control the narrative, that is the beginning of the end. And the people who in Silicon Valley and the donors who are out there supporting this lawfare, they're dead to me. I mean, these people are destroying the ground on which they stand. Do they think they won't be next? When you destroy the institutions of fairness and merit, eventually you're the ones who get thrown up against the wall. But that's what it does. It creates this revenge fantasy, right? Now you want to get back.
That's the only way they're going to learn.
It's going to be a sad state of affairs.
Your quotes reminded me of this guy we know we believe is somewhat of a connected guy. And he has this saying, which I think could be Kamala Harris's campaign slogan, depending on who she's talking to. I'll do anything for you and anything to you. It's very scary.
It's mobster behavior, right? It's like the ends justify the means for these people. It's like, well, this is the thing about religions, and Marxism is a religious movement. And so Alvin Bragg, I don't think is coordinated necessarily by the DOJ, although there's a little bit of evidence of that. But I think it's much more that just when you take a religion and you spread it and you get these fervent adherents, these true believers. And, like I said, like when I was young, I was growing up under the Christian right, and now I'm growing up against the Marxist left, but they have their own religions. When you have these religious fanatics, you get decentralized enforcement of the religion, and each one is trying to outdo the next one to show how much of a true believer they are. So the Alvin Braggs of the world are going to get scalps, and they're going to get feathers in their cap. They're going to get, they're going to become famous, and they're going to become lots of people cheering them on if they go ahead and they take down these people that everybody hates. So they made Trump into the devil. And it's hilarious because, before he ran for office, he was just a businessman and a Democrat.
Who they all curry favor with. All right, so in the minute and a half we have left, sounds to me like you're a Trump voter. Is that how you intend to vote?
I don't advocate for people to vote in a specific way. I'm just not a Kamala Harris voter because I've lived in San Francisco long enough. I tend to be more libertarian, but the libertarians are running some wackos right now, so it's hard to. And
what's your forecast? Like, what if she does win? What if she wins and she actually gains control of the House and keeps the Senate, and we have unified Democrat government?
My biggest fear is unified governments in general, because the government that governs best is the one that governs least. So you want divided government. That's why the founders of this country made it so hard to actually pass laws and to change things. So you want divided government. Unified government is very threatening because then it's the tyranny of the majority, or the so-called majority. What is the issue? The main issue is changing the rules of the game.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns? Along with hiring tens of thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has been sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Don't waive your rights and speak with these guys on your own. Instead, Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved more than $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they might help to secure you the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you. Whether it's business or personal taxes, even if you have the means to pay, or if you're on a fixed income, they can help you. Finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. Call these guys at 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. Don't let the IRS control your life. Empower yourself with Tax Network USA's support and take charge of your financial future. tnusa.com/MEGYN. Visit there today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.